Hello guys, and welcome back to another installment of Let's Go Sailing, where we have just crossed the Tropic of Capricorn on our final leg of the Pacific. Now a couple of days back we picked up Dave here, who's the owner of the Pourpre. Tell us, Dave, how does it feel to be back behind the helm?
Oh, it's really cool, really nice to be, feels like I'm back home again. It's good to be heading home too.
Great,
yeah.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you on board.
Thanks, guys.
Dave here is actually an engineer for Qantas when he's not out sailing the seas, and it's been a welcome addition on board, especially after 9,000 miles, where we did a pre-departure check in New Caledonia on the rigging, running gear, shrouds, steering, and the power. Did I miss anything?
And the batteries. And
the batteries. So we're all safe and sound and set for this final leg, where we should be getting in another 4 or 5 days.
4 or 5 days, hopefully.
All right. Well, I'll leave you to it, Dave.
Okay, Gil. Catch
All
you
right.
out. See ya.
As you can see by the charts, we have come a long way across the Pacific and are now just over 500 miles from Australia. After the Americas were discovered by Columbus, exploration of the remaining world shifted into high gear, and as additional land was discovered, the Europeans became more and more convinced of the fact that there must be a final great southern continent to be discovered. Sadly, a few brave explorers shot right on by, one to the south, and amazingly, another just to the north, through the Torres Straits, with only 85 miles separating Australia from Indonesia. And while mapping a constellation for the British Crown, Captain Cook literally bumped into the great southern continent. It seems he should have been looking out instead of looking up. At any rate, having his rainy season confused for the dry, Captain Cook initially named Australia New South Wales. It wouldn't be until a subsequent expedition by the British that they came to realize how arid and unforgiving the great Australian continent truly was, leaving many scratching their head as to why Captain Cook named it what he had. The British, having landed in what is now known as Botany Bay, narrowly retained their title to the land, as the French came sailing into that very same port only 3 short weeks later. And, after honorably ceding defeat, turned to sail home, only to sink in these very waters that we are now sailing. Alright guys, it's day 5 of our crossing of the Coral Sea. Day 3 of the headwinds coming straight from Australia, which has been making this quite difficult. And now it's day 1 of survival mode. That's right. For those of you who know me back at home, you know no adventure is without some drama. And just a short while ago, our butane that powers our galley ran dry. So we have no way of cooking for the remainder of this trip. This is definitely no laughing matter, as we're about 500 miles from our destination, and all we have to eat is pasta, rice, and we bake our own bread. That said, we do have one option left, and that is to bake our bread on the engine block. So we're giving that a shot right now, and awesome. Few hours in on day 1 of our food rationing, and already we're hungry, and the mood of the boat is pretty grumpy, to say the least. We tried baking the rest of Danny's loaf of bread, which was in the oven when the butane ran out on the engine, but unfortunately that didn't work too well. We were, however, able to scrap together a measly little sandwich for dinner, and so tomorrow we'll have to give this another try. dinner, Danny soaked some noodles in cold water for about an hour and then mixed in some cold spaghetti sauce and Spam. It was truly the worst meal I've ever eaten. And to be honest, there's no way I can eat it again tonight. To make matters worse, we have only 1 can of sauce and Spam left before the trip. It's still at least 2 more days to go.
3 o'clock, and I just finished my night watch. Been a night full of rain, squalls, and high wind. It's winter down here in the southern hemisphere. Now that we're out of the tropics, it's cold and wet. On top of our food issues, I've got another one to add to that, which is my foul weather gear, namely my jacket here, has failed. So it is about as porous as a cotton sweatshirt. And given the fact I have no blankets to sleep with, which has been nice in the tropics, I now have to sleep in cold, wet, damp clothes. And on top of that, I'm starting to get very hungry. I'll see you guys all in the morning.
The early explorers would often say some of their sailors could smell land hundreds of miles from shore, a claim I found hard to believe. That is until a few nights ago when I smelled land from over 400 miles away, and it was unmistakable. The scent was similar to that of a summer rain, except for it was sweeter and stronger, and what I could best describe as a mixture between the Nile River and California's Central Valley on a summer evening. Then, last night, the most spectacular thing happened. It was a cold and rainy night, squalls everywhere, really cold, and then as the moon broke through the clouds behind me, the dark sky in front of me split in half, and a great white rainbow spread from one end of the horizon to the other. It was truly remarkable, and I couldn't help but think it was the Pacific wishing me farewell as we made our final approach to land. 5 years ago, as I was flying home from Australia, my plane made a large banking turn, and as I looked out the window, the last bit of land I saw was the north end of Fraser Island. Had you told me then that in 5 years' time, my next visit to Australia would begin at that very location as I sailed up from across the Pacific, I would have found it hard to believe. Yet, here we are, and over my shoulder in the distance is Fraser Island. And so, at long last, welcome to Australia.